What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our continued Marvel Pinball Effects tournaments. In this video, we're going to talk about Thor. I'm going to introduce you to the character and his role in Marvel, in the Marvel Universe, and as well as his role in pop culture. We'll also talk about the tournament, and then bigger news coming up this week is that on the 16th, is when Elvira and the Party Monsters releases and Scared Stiff. So those release in 3 days from now. So we're not going to have a tournament because it's only 3 days, and I just want to focus on creating those videos for you guys. So once those are released, we'll have a tournament on one of those tables. I'll make a community post so you guys can see. So that's what we'll be doing for this week. I know those tables are going to be great. I had the chance to play the pre-release copies, and I know for sure you're going to like them, especially Scared Stiff. I think that's one that is going to make a great Halloween table, but also a great Williams edition because you have now both of the Elvira tables. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about Thor. So, as we've been choosing these Marvel tables, I've been choosing ones that have been based off characters that you've probably heard about, right? We've done Wolverine, we've done Captain America, we've done Hulk. So those are all names you've probably heard about at least once, right? So Thor is no different because Thor is not only a Marvel character in the Marvel Universe, but Thor is in ancient Norse mythology, right? So, you don't even have to like Marvel to know who Thor is. If you're just a fan of Norse mythology, you'll already know kind of the characteristics of Thor. There are some minor differences between Marvel's Thor and the Thor from the mythology, but for the most part, they're really kind of the same. In Norse mythology, Thor is the protector of gods and humans, defending both Asgard and Midgard, which is Earth, from giants. And these giants represent chaos and destruction. And so Thor is basically the god of thunder, right? And he wields this hammer called the Mjolnir, which was forged by dwarves. And it always returns to his hand when thrown and is capable of leveling mountains. So this is all from Norse mythology. His hammer, or the Mjolnir, is not just a weapon, but it's also a sacred object used to bless marriages, births, and funerals. There are some interesting tales in relation to Thor, such as the theft of Mjolnir, where the giants steal his hammer and Thor disguises himself as a bride to retrieve it, leading to one of mythology's funniest and most heroic moments. So a little anecdote here, as you guys know, I used to play a lot of Smite, and Smite has a lot of these Norse gods in the game, playable gods like Thor. And so there was one time when the game released a Thor character skin where he's dressed up as a bride, right? And so I was kind of wondering why. I never took the time to know, but I just kind of thought why. And now, now I know, right? Now it makes sense. There's also Ragnarok, which is the end of the world, where Thor kills this giant serpent, Jormungandr, who is also in Smite, by the way, and is also a playable god, but dies shortly after from its venom, symbolizing his heroism and his inevitable fate. Also, Thursday literally means Thor's Day. So there's a lot of, kind of Thor and ancient Norse mythology making its way to other areas of life, like the days of the week, right? So that is basically kind of the Norse take on him. Thor is the son of Odin, and that's kind of where you get the name Odin's son, right? So now let's kind of talk about his appearance in Marvel. Okay. So it's important to keep in mind that Thor is not a Marvel only god. He is inspired from actual mythology, right? So Thor first appeared in the comic Journey into Mystery, the 83rd issue, all the way back in 1962. And he was created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. And as you said, it's an adapted character of the Norse god of thunder. His name is Thor, Odin's son, and he's the son of Odin, ruler of Asgard, god of thunder, and he wields the Mjolnir, which is this hammer that can level mountains, and it comes back to him like a boomerang. So if you've ever played Smite, I think if you haven't played Smite and you want, a free-to-play game, Smite, the first one, is that, and you can play gods like Thor. If you're into that kind of thing. There's also a Smite 2, which I haven't played yet, but what's cool is when I'm reading about Thor and his his lore, is Smite did a pretty good job at kind of emulating those powers. So in the game, you have a hammer that comes back to you. You can throw it. You can use the hammer to create chasms in the earth. So it's really cool like that. And so this Mjolnir, this hammer, gives him powers like flight, the ability to control weather, and immense strength. So going back to Smite here, Thor's ultimate in the game is he goes all the way up in the air, right? So he flies in the air, and then he comes crashing down with his hammer and stuns people. So in early comics, Thor had a human alter ego, Dr. Donald Blake. However, this was later phased out, and he just became known as a god hero. He was part of the Avengers team that formed in 1963, and he's appeared in a lot of animated series in the 60s. But probably he came really into prominence when his movie appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as portrayed by Chris Hemsworth, starting with the Thor movie from 2011. Then you've got a Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, from 2017. He's also had many roles in video games, Marvel's Avengers, the God of War Ragnarok, games like Smite. So he's almost become like this Western pop culture icon. And all the way back from what began in Norse mythology, right? So you kind of think about it like that. Almost like, I want to compare him to like Thor's icon. His status as an icon is almost like Hercules, right? How Hercules has become known in the West, has been portrayed by numerous actors, and stuff like that. So that's what I find interesting. But also, what's interesting is this is a character, a god hero, that is inspired from a mythology, whereas most of the characters that we've talked about already, Hulk, Wolverine, and Captain America, are all kind of Marvel's original, creative ideas brought to life. But this one is a little different, right? So that's pretty much what I found interesting about, my research on Thor. When you play this table, Marvel's Thor, you can kind of hear that. He says, "I am Thor, Odin's son, god of thunder, protector of Asgard." And so you can kind of learn the Thor just by listening to the call-outs. But speaking of the table itself, I thought the table it's one of my favorite tables because it's just, it's a fun table that has awesome animations. The modes are quite difficult. I think modes are kind of the main way to score big, and the modes can be very difficult, especially with one ball. But you have modes where you're battling Loki. You have modes where you're battling Surtur, who's also in Smite. You have modes where you're battling Ymir, which is a frost giant, also in the lore of Norse mythology, who is again also in Smite. and also one of my favorite characters in the game. So it's just a really cool table that fuses Norse mythology with the Marvel universe. And like I said, the modes are difficult. It's not a crazy table in terms of design. You've got extra flippers. You got 2 extra flippers. You have kickbacks. So it doesn't do anything too crazy, but it's kind of sticks to, digital pinball at its finest. So, as we close and we talk about when we go over the leaderboard, just know that Marvel's Thor kind of bridges ancient mythology and modern storytelling. He basically popularized Norse myths in mainstream culture, like turning characters like Loki, Odin, and Valkyr into household names far beyond their mythological origins. So Thor, as a Marvel character, kind of bridges fantasy, mythology, and into this awesome interaction that you have, where you can blend those things. A little bit of mythology, a little bit of creative inspiration from Marvel. So, just to recap here, he first appeared in a comic in 1962. He's created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby, and he is the Norse god of thunder and son of Odin. So these videos are I like doing these videos because I'm able to talk about the historical context of things that we may not even really pay attention to, right? Like, how many of you knew that Thursday was after Thor's Day, right? And so when you're kind of playing these tables, try to think about the historical context. And of course enjoy pinball, but I think you can kind of also learn things about many different things in relation to pop culture, which is why I enjoy these tables and doing these sorts of videos. So we're going to look at the tournament scores now. We had 7 people. This was a private tournament, and our first place winner goes to UTD 4000 with 94 million points. Congratulations, UTD, for that impressive score. And remember, this is only one ball, so that is a really good score. So I always want to give congratulations to the first place, and really anyone who's able to score really, high amount of points. Second place, we have my arch nemesis, King Balchi 100, with 61 million points. Congratulations to King Balchi. Excuse me. And in third place, we have Gap Vic, another regular, with 53 million points. I was below Gap Vic with 42 million points. I think I got that from completing the battle with Loki in another mode, and a lot of combo shots. I think this table's really combo heavy, so you want to make as many shots as you can before the timer goes off. Underneath me, we have Genuines with that spooky ghost avatar with 24 million points, who is also a regular in our tournaments. And in sixth place, we have Bad Jack Daniels with 20 million points, also a long-time regular in our tournaments. And in seventh place, we have a newcomer who has been in our tournaments for quite a few weeks now, but I want to welcome Johnny Sev back. And so Johnny Sev had 2 million points in seventh place. So thank you to everyone who joined. I hope you enjoyed this tournament. And so this video, I'm not going to be playing any tables, so I encourage you to join other people's tournaments. I played in a Funhouse tournament, which was really cool. I have a tournament on Zakaria, but I'm also playing in Zakaria custom tournaments. So in the meantime, before the 16th, when I make the videos for Elvira, feel free to let me know if you're hosting any tournaments so I can make a post on the community tab, and I'd be more than happy to join. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be back in 3 days with a tournament on, I'm going to do Elvira, Elvira's Scared Stiff. So that will be the next one. So till then, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Take care.